Welcome to Hack Your Happiness.
Constantly think about and remind myself that nothing good ever comes from being comfortable. I think you need to push yourself to get to where you want to be, and if you want to be a change maker in the world, you're going to have to do things that other people don't want to do.
Are you a teen or adult looking for more happiness in every day and ways to connect with people in your life?
You've come to the right place. Hack Your Happiness is a podcast designed to bring you the behind the scenes of what brings iconic individuals happiness, plus their life hacks.
I'm Mercedes.
And I'm Anastasia.
And we're the two teens behind Small Bits of Happiness.
We're interviewing Olympic athletes, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and more.
Throughout all of our episodes, you'll find great conversations, hacks that you can take away and try in your life, inspiration, as well as unique and surprising insights. Joining us today, we have Penny Oleksiak. Penny is the most decorated Olympic athlete in Canada. She made her debut at the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro at the age of 16. In this single Summer Games, she won 4 medals, including a gold, and became the first Canadian Olympian to do this. After Rio de Janeiro, Penny became a hero and an overnight sensation. At the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, Penny earned 3 medals, giving her a total of 7 Olympic medals. Penny's achievements are countless, including her winning 2 silver and 2 bronze at the 2022 FINA Olympics. Penny's talents and hard work are undoubtedly unmatched, and these are reflected in her achievements and world records that she's broken. Penny is absolutely incredible and inspiring, not to mention that she has such a warm and calm spirit. Welcome, Penny!
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. So you're currently the most decorated Olympic swimmer in Canada, but take us back to the beginning. How did your journey begin?
Kind of randomly, I got into swimming when I was 9 or 10, just because I did a lot of sports growing up, and my parents just wanted me to try something new. I wanted to try something new, so I decided to do swimming, and then I ended up being pretty good at it, so I kind of just kept up with it, and the rest is history.
Awesome. It's so inspiring how you just kind of started something and just saw where it went and, kind of took a risk.
Yeah, exactly. So throughout your journey, what has been your most significant challenge? And if so, how did you overcome it?
My most significant is probably kind of what I'm dealing with right now. I think with sport, there's all sorts of different challenges you can face, whether that's physical, mental. I think I definitely dealt with a lot of different mental struggles after my first Olympics, just with I had a whole identity crisis. I feel you guys are in high school. So in high school, you're already trying to figure out who your friends are, what your interests are, what you like to do, what you you're figuring your whole life out. So that, with the added pressure of being an Olympic swimmer and doing well at the Olympics and trying to really pursue my dreams, was kind of a lot for me growing up. I think it threw something else in there while I was just trying to figure out life. I was kind of had this whole pressure and everything on top of me, but that I've already dealt with. I'm past that. I now kind of see everything a bit differently. I think I try to just really stay present and take things day by day, but my biggest challenge physically that I've dealt with is last summer, I tore my knee, and I'd never dealt with a physical injury like that before. I'd never really been forced to be out of the pool. So I think that was a challenge for me, just physically being out of the water and rehabbing my knee and trying to get better and focus on that. But also just being out of the water for the first time for 6 months and not really being able to do anything about it. I think during COVID, when we were out of the water, it was kind of I could still work out, I could still do things. But when I tore my knee, I was kind of just forced to take that break and reset. And that was definitely a big learning experience for me, of just how I can find things that I like outside of swimming, and how I can kind of find new things that will help me improve in the pool when I'm not able to be in the pool. So that's something I'm kind of dealing with now still and figuring out, but it's a journey that I'm enjoying.
For sure, yeah. You're right. Being a teenager is hard enough as it is, and when you have, this added pressure of being so successful at a sport. I can imagine it's quite stressful, but I'm glad that you overcame that. And yeah, for sure.
I think also when you're like with your injury, I think that when you're taken away from doing what you love, you kind of start to kind of be like, well, what do I like other than that? And so you have to start thinking about and trying to find these other things
and learning more about yourself.
And that can be hard to do, but I think it can overall lead to kind of growing as a person too.
Yeah. So how do you look over and learn from your performances, especially when you have like uncontrollable outcomes in swimming, to continue to improve and stay motivated?
I think it's just trusting the process is really important. I think also, um, kind of understanding that like you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have good days, and having to be okay with that. I think I figured that out at a pretty young age where like whenever I would have a bad race, I would kind of just get out of the water and be like, okay, what can I fix about it? And even when I have good races, I like to look at them and see all the mistakes I made and see how I can improve from there. Um, I think it's just controlling what you can and being realistic with yourself of what you can control and what you can't. And then like everything else I kind of just throw out the window and I'm like, whatever happens is gonna happen and I'm gonna just do what I can to be at my peak performance when I need to be. And then outside of that, there's not much else I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're so right at like whether it was a success or like maybe not the greatest, just looking and seeing what you can learn, because I think there's something to learn from everything that we go through, and improvement is always the best way to go, and just seeing how we can improve for next time regardless. So I think that it can be hard to sometimes like think about your flaws, but when you look at what you can improve on, it helps you in the big picture.
Definitely.
Most definitely. So how do you create a balance between setting goals and expectations while also recognizing that some parts of swimming are beyond your control?
I think, like I said, it's being realistic with myself. I definitely have really big goals that might seem really unattainable, but I think I try to just take that pressure off and just keep working towards them as much as I can. I think for me, I really just try and set little goals every day when I go to the pool. Every day, if I'm not feeling good in the water, I'll try and focus on something else that I know I can kind of improve on and focus on. And if I get in the pool that day and my stroke feels totally off, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna just focus on my underwater kicks today, or like focus on my turn, just something small that when I get out of the water, I still feel good about it and I still feel like I put in an effort. But I think, yeah, it's just finding those little things that you can do every day, because I know even in my day-to-day life that I go through the same thing. Some days I'm just not feeling like doing anything, but I'm like, let me do something small that I know I can do so that I at least feel good about today. And then tomorrow's a new day. We can wake up, find something else to focus on and move on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like kind of what we've tried to do too with like happiness, is just finding like the small bits of happiness in every day, or a small bit of motivation, or a small bit of productivity. Like you feel so much better if you kind of push yourself, even if it's just a little bit. So yeah, totally.
I mean, I think in the end, all the small goals can build up to reaching this one big goal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So do you have any specific strategies that you use to stay motivated while you're in your recovery?
I think just finding those little things that make me happy. Making sure that I have things to do outside of swimming as well is really important. I think that's a lesson I've really learned over the last year, especially for like myself and just my career, because I know swimming's not going to be my career forever. It's impossible. So, just finding those little interests outside of swimming. And I've really put a big focus on that with my injury. It kind of forced me to find those things. So, I spend a lot of time just trying to do things outside of the water that I love, whether that's hanging out with my friends, who's passing by right now, or like my dogs or something. Just little things, I think having that balance is really important, because I find when you're really focused on one thing and it's all you want to do and you're just putting all your energy and effort into that, it's so devastating when you don't get the outcome you want, and it can really like consume you. So I think making sure that you have those outlets outside of what your main focus is how you can learn to be good at that.
Yeah, I mean, like balance is key. Like just kind of balancing out your big goals from like something fun that you can do that isn't really like a big major aspect of your life, but it's like something that just keeps you going and brings you small bits of happiness. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what does it take to be an Olympic athlete of this magnitude? Like, how many hours a week do you train?
Hours, I'm not sure, honestly. I try not to think about it too much because of that same reason of like I don't want to consume my life with it. And if I'm like, oh, I put in this so many hours this week, I feel like I get really exhausted thinking about it. I don't even know how many hours I put in, but I would say it is basically my whole life because I consider all of it to kind of be a thing. So like not just the training portion. Yeah, I'm in the pool a lot. I'm in the gym a lot. I go and do Pilates. I go and work out. So I'm constantly always doing things, but at the same time, the recovery portion of it is also just as important, which I think a lot of people don't really think about, whether that's right now I was just at like a sauna and cold plunge spot where you can just go and recover and relax, whether that's just at home taking care of my nutrition, taking care of my well-being, little self-care things and stuff like that. I think that also adds into my overall performance. So I would honestly say it's pretty much like full-time, everyday kind of thing. And just being conscious of what you want to achieve and if you want to be better at whether that's school, whether that's sport, whether that's music, something, you want to make sure you're covering all your bases in whatever you're doing, and then also outside of that, and just making sure that recovery is a big part of that as well.
Yeah, totally. So, what's your favorite thing to do for self care?
Favorite self-care, honestly, I love just like taking a day to like go sauna, cold plunge, go home, like little like masks, face masks, hair masks. I love it all. I think I'm super big on self-care and just like taking those little moments for myself. Even just listening to music for me is like self-care. I love it.
I love listening to music 100%. It's like sometimes when you're just really stressed out, you're like, I know what I need to do. Sometimes when I'm not having the best day at school, I have like this like go-to playlist I turn on at school. It just makes everything better. So I'll ask the teacher, I'll be like, if I can work on this, I'll be so happy.
Or like at the end of every night, we love to listen, like share our AirPods and listen to music while we get ready, just like as a nice way to kind of wind down at the end of an evening. It's like just different forms of self-care, totally. Downtime is so important.
It
like
is.
to like I feel like you're right. So many people don't think of the fact that downtime and taking a break and taking care of yourself is a part of being productive in a sense. Like you can't just always be go, 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 or else you'll burn out, you'll get tired, you'll lose motivation.
Yeah, so what are your top 3 tips to teens to accept what they can't control?
I think it's just taking that pressure off yourself. Like, especially as a teenager, I think for me, I had this after my first Olympics, I had this like persona almost that I felt like I needed to keep up with. And that was kind of like Canada's sweetheart and like very just happy all the time, very perfect, very just, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? I think as a person, I'm very just like laid back, chill. I like to take my time with things and I'm not always perfect. I mean, like, as much as I try to be and I try to be better every day, I'm not a perfect human. And I think having that like image of yourself is really hard to attain and keep up with. So I think just realizing that no one's perfect, that everyone's always working through things is like my number one thing. I think you need to also just make sure that you can control what you can and you can't control what you can't control, and going into your days, setting an intention is really important for me. I think I try to wake up every morning and just be like, okay, today's going to be a good day. I'm setting my intentions to make sure that I have a good day, to make sure that I'm excited about what I'm doing. I'm grateful for what I get to experience and what I get to do with my life is really important to me. So, just having that intention is something that I think can really help just set your day right. And for a third thing, I don't even know. I think I'm just sticking to like just enjoy what you're doing. I think you can never be good at something you don't enjoy, even if it's like oh, well, I want to study this because it makes the most money. And it's like, well, if you don't like it, you're never going to be good at it. You're never going to be successful with it because you'll never be able to fully apply yourself. So find something you love and really just pour everything you have into it and just enjoy the process and enjoy what you're doing. I think those are my three things.
Absolutely. Those are really, really amazing tips. And I think you're right. If you, especially as teenagers, like as you get closer to having to decide what you want to study, it's a lot of decisions. And a lot of people, I think, forget to take the aspect of what do I really want to do? Because when you think long term, it's hard to commit to doing something for years if you don't really love it, and it's like you just said, hard to apply yourself and be motivated. And when you love something like swimming, or for us it's like business and working together, like it's so much easier to do it and motivate yourself to do it because you love to do it. And so
You're able to be more successful that way because you want to do it, compared to being kind of like, oh, I have to do it because in the long term, I need to have this kind of job. I think it definitely is much more inspiring also for yourself to kind of just keep going. And I think that's all you need to.
whether it's like a hobby or a job, like if you're not enjoying it, it's not sustainable in long term. So
Definitely.
yeah, I think you're right. And the personas, like just being true to yourself. I feel like being true to yourself in the end is always, you'll attract the people that you want to attract. You'll attract the opportunities that you want because you're just being your own genuine self. And it's difficult, I think, whether you're a teenager or even like later on. I think that, yeah, it's hard to want to be yourself, but at the same time, like when you forget and you try to like take the pressures off of what other people or social media say about you, it's much easier to try to find your true inner self. So, what is one piece of advice you wish you could give to your teenage self?
I think just to lean into being more authentic is my biggest piece of advice. I think, like I said, I spent a lot of my years really thinking about what everyone else thought of me all the time. And I used to literally walk around Toronto like with my head on a swivel because I was so nervous that like if I was hanging out with my friends and I like said a swear word that like someone would recognize me and say something about it, or if I went to like a party and someone would say something about me being, I think just I was always so terrified to be myself because I thought that it wouldn't be what people wanted from me. And then I realized, I literally remember the day that I one day like woke up and I was like, okay, Penny, like no one cares that much about you. You know what I mean? I think once you like take yourself out of the situation, you're like, hey, no one's just following you and stalking you and worried about your every move. So I just decided to just be myself, be as outgoing as I am and as like fun, and I just love to like be around people and talk about things, and so I think just being myself, it really like set me free. And I think also it attracted a lot of people that I really like being around. Like you said, you attract the people that you actually want to attract. And I find since I've done that, I've definitely been more successful in things that I want to do outside of swimming because people really like who I am when I'm myself. And people can also like sniff out authenticity and when people are being fake or they're being genuine from 1,000 miles away. So I've just learned to be myself, and the people that like me are going to be around, and the people that don't, I don't want around. So just that.
Yeah, exactly. The people who don't accept you for who you are, you don't want them in your life anyway.
Like, why would you change yourself for a person who wouldn't like you for who you really are?
Yeah, so what's your favorite thing to do outside of swimming that brings you a small bit of happiness?
Oh, I think just being around good people. I'm such a people person. I think I used to think I was really introverted, and I would always just like spend my time at home and not really do much. But I've come to realize that I really love being around people and I really love being around good people. And I find that I'm surrounded by so many amazing like women, so many amazing men with so many different talents and interests and things that just spark my own interests and motivations and stuff like that. And just people that really keep me motivated. And I have so many friends that I look at and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're killing it at life. And it inspires me to kind of do different things and experience different things. So I think just being around good people and being open to people and experiences and different thoughts and opinions and everything is really cool. So for me, just good people. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that what you said about like how you thought you used to be more of an introvert, I think that I've experienced the same thing. Like I thought I was introverted, and then I realized, oh, maybe I was just not around the right people, like the people who bring out, like who energize you and who bring out that happiness.
So what is one motivational quote that you love and remember?
I think I have one. I think my favorite quote, honestly, that I think about a lot is that nothing good ever comes from being comfortable.
Love that.
I don't even know who it's by or anything like that, but that quote I always think about weirdly. Just when I'm in positions where I don't want to do something or where I'm not super motivated to go to practice, I just always constantly think about and remind myself that like nothing good ever comes from being comfortable. I think you need to push yourself to get to where you want to be, and if you want to be a change maker in the world, you're going to have to do things that other people don't want to do. So I think that one is probably my favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like that idea, like if you want to be different or better than other people, you have to be willing to do things that other people wouldn't necessarily want to do, or work harder and longer. And yeah, I think that's a really great quote.
I think that, yeah, definitely, like when you kind of start becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's when you really start to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have anything exciting coming up that you'd like to share with us? Any goals or events or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of doing a lot this year. I'm going to the Olympics next summer, so I'm kind of just getting ready for that. I've been not out of the water, but I haven't been racing since last July, beginning of last July, which is kind of unheard of for swimmers. So getting back into racing this year is going to be really exciting. I have my first meet at the end of this month, actually, so I'm really amped for that. But also just experiencing hopefully my third Olympics if I make that team, and if and when I'm going to put it out there in the universe. But I think just having that third Olympic experience and just being grateful for it. And I'm just really excited to go and see what it's going to be like this time around.
That's so exciting.
I know, I'm excited.
Yeah. So where can our audience find you if they want to follow along on all the exciting things you've got coming up?
Oh my goodness. I'd say probably TikTok and Instagram. I'm really big on Insta stories. So typical Pen on Instagram, and I think Penny Oleksiak on TikTok. But I'm trying to get into the TikTok game. I don't know how it works.
It's tough, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we'll also link those in the show notes so anyone can go and click those.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
It was
You
really
guys are such businesswomen. I love this.
Thank you.
Well, we're so excited because your story and like you starting, like
Yeah.
I turned 16 in a month, and so it's so inspiring.
Are you doing anything for your birthday?
I'll probably just have like my friend over and we'll eat a cake, like eat some of a cake together or something like that.
That's my favorite kind of way to spend a birthday.
The key to eat cake is like you don't like put it into a slice. You just like take a fork and you just dig into it. That's the best way to do it.
You just eat it.
Especially on your birthday, you have to.
Exactly. Cake all day.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Pack Your Happiness.
Penny is beyond inspiring, and I'm so happy that we got the chance to talk to her today. Like, I'm turning 16 in about a month, and to think of the fact that she won a gold medal at an Olympic game is amazing, especially thinking about somebody my age. She's so inspiring to me, and I'm sure to so many other teenagers out there. I know a lot of my friends are so inspired by Penny, and talking to her today was just a reminder of how sometimes trying something totally new, even if you're like 9 or 10 or whatever age you're at, trying something totally new can go to amazing places that you could never even dream of. And also, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have from Penny today is that you need to kind of take the pressure off of yourself, and that's when you can achieve true greatness, is when you kind of just let yourself be and you try your best, you train hard, you work hard, but if you don't succeed, you don't give yourself a hard time. Instead, you look at what you can do to improve and you do that.
One of the things that I really loved what Penny talked about was when she was younger and she really felt like the whole world was watching her and everybody focused on all the little things she was doing, is that nobody really cared that much. And I think that really touched me as well as I know a lot of other people, because we're constantly always thinking, oh my god, it's like the spotlight effect, that everybody's constantly thinking about us, that we're in the spotlight, when in reality, everybody's focused on themselves. So as soon as you kind of detach from that, you can kind of become calmer and focus on being your true authentic self, which is honestly how we find ourselves as well as all the people that are good for us.
I totally agree, and I think you're right about the spotlight effect. Like, we always think that people are paying more attention to us than they really are. Like Penny talked about, and how she used to walk around her hometown, which is Toronto, so like not a small city by any means. She used to walk around and be worried that everybody would be judging her and paying such close attention to her and her friends' conversations and everything she does. And when you realize that people are so concerned with their own lives that it leaves a lot less time for them to be concerned about your life, then you can truly start to enjoy and find more happiness in every day.
If you enjoyed today's episode, consider leaving a 5-star review on wherever you're listening. Also, make sure to follow this podcast to not miss our next iconic interview.
See you next time!